2011, but even then, the park left sections of the track in less visible areas of the park. Number 15, Eagles Flight, opened in 1971, closed in 1994. Another transportation ride. This had two paths. It would start on top of Samurai Summit, and one path would take you down where Food Etc. is today, next to Goliath, and the other would take you down to where Riddler's Revenge is today. That path was removed in 1981. This ride was not without its problems. A gondola falling 50 feet in 1978 and killing a man. And it was the North Eagles Flight. Closed in 2000. This monorail would take riders all over the park, having 3 stations. One was in the front of the park, right across from Log Jammer. One was in the back, where Christianity is today. And one was inside the top of the mountain, using the tunnel that Full Throttle now uses for a second launch. This would take you places you can't go today, like on the hill behind Buccaneer and Swashbuckler. And after it closed in 2000, it stood idle for 11 years, finally being torn down in 2011. But even then, the park left sections of the track in less visible areas of the park. Number 15, Eagles Flight, opened in 1971, closed in 1994. Another transportation ride. This had 2 paths. It would start on top of Samurai Summit, and one path would take you down where Food Etc. is today, next to Goliath, and the other would take you down to where Riddler's Revenge is today. That path was removed in 1981. This ride was not without its problems. A gondola falling 50 feet in 1978 and killing a man. And it was the Northridge earthquake that finished off the rest of this ride, being removed for Superman the Escape. Number 14, Galaxy, opened in 1971, closed in 1979. This intimate double Ferris wheel was very impressive looking, having 4 arms with 4 cars on one side, while the other side loaded passengers. I didn't get to ride this and have never ridden anything like this, but I would have liked to. I'm sure I would have gave great music classes during its first few seasons. This was located where Buccaneer and Swashbuckler are today. Number 13, Z-Force, opened in 1987, closed in 1993. This intimate looping starship would flip riders all the way upside down, and I remember seeing this when I was a really little kid, but of course I didn't ride it. The much more extreme version of Buccaneer, the standard swinging ship. This one didn't last very long, only 7 seasons, the park removing it to build Batman the Ride. Number 12, Reactor, opened in 1977, closed in 1993. Opening is Enterprise. When Z-Force opened next door, it changed to Reactor. This spinning ride is at a near vertical angle inside small cages, and you can still find these Enterprise rides all over the place. Another ride I have vague memories of as a kid. This suffered the same fate as Z-Force, removed in 1993 to make way for Batman the Ride. Number 11, Condor, opened in 1988, closed in 1989. This Husk flat ride sat riders on one of 4 arms, spun them around in circles, and rose up the tower 105 feet. As fun and visually impressive as this was, it only lasted 2 seasons and was taken out so the park could build Viper. Number 10, Cyclone, opened in 1991, closed in 2006. I know, this is a brutal wooden coaster, but I kept riding it for a reason. And no, it's not because I'm stupid. Well, maybe. But I enjoy a wooden coaster, and this was designed to replicate the Coney Island Cyclone. This just had 2 problems. For one, it used those heavy B&M fiberglass frames, the only kind B&M built trains for a wooden coaster, and that's a good thing. Then, the same earthquake that sunk Eagles Flight also damaged Cyclone, and apparently, that's a major reason it ran so rough later in its life. 95 feet tall, 50 miles an hour. This only lasted 16 seasons, closing down in 2006, and eventually being replaced by a more modern wooden coaster, Apocalypse.
What the fuck?
And eventually being replaced by a more modern wooden coaster, Apocalypse. Number 9, Shockwave, opened in 1986, closed in 1988, part of the 6, and eventually being replaced.
See? I just see Apocalypse, and I see a highway. That's it. That's it. We just see Apocalypse.
Replaced by a more modern wooden coaster, Apocalypse. Number 9, Shockwave, opened in 1986, closed in 1988. Part of the ride rotation program, this intimate stand-up coaster was plopped in the back of the park, knowing it wasn't a mainstay at Magic Mountain, serving 3 years before moving to Great Adventure. This looks like a B&M stand-up, but this predates B&M, the founders of that company working for Juvenile at the time, and they were the subcontractor on this ride. It only had one inversion over 2,300 feet of track. This last operated as Batman the Escape at Astroworld, replaced by Cyclone 3 years after its closure. Number 8, Mountain Express, opened in 1973, closed in 1982. one of the park's original coasters, and I would say the park's most forgotten coaster. This Schwarzkopf Wildcat made its debuts 2 years after the park opened and served 10 good seasons. 50 feet tall, 40 miles an hour, 1,800 feet of track, your typical portable Wildcat. So, no surprise when this shut down, it was moved to Magic Landing in El Paso, Texas. Then, Bosque Magico in Mexico. That park closing in 2022. This was replaced by the exhibit for Texas Instruments, and Flashback would later occupy that spot. Number 7. Freefall. Opened in 1982, closed in 2007. This intimate first-generation freefall would take riders up a tower, push them out over the edge, and drop them, leveling out at the bottom and leaving riders on their backs. This was a favorite of mine, as fun as it was janky, feeling that weightlessness all the way down, but after 25 years, it was done for. This was located next to Riddler's Revenge, and this is actually the reason Riddler has an airtime hill after its mid-course. It had to jump over Freefall's track. Number 6. Thrill Shot, opened in 2001, closed in 2009. The only upcharge attraction on this list. I admit, I sprung the money to ride this a few times. This was noticeable from all over the park. 3 towers standing 250 feet. Riders strapping in and using bungee cables to launch the rider up, flipping onto your stomach as you're rising up. The cables stretching far beyond those 3 white towers, bouncing around a few times before the ride was over. It was a rush, but became a maintenance headache after 9 seasons, taken out in 2012, and the park opening Slingshot the other end of Cyclone Bay, now known as the Underground. Thrill Shot was located next to Jetstream. Number 5. Log Jammer, opened in 1971, closed in 2011. This log flume was a park original, using its terrain to perfection, rising up the side of that hill, using 2 lifts to get to the top, and having 2 big drops to get back down to ground level. I don't like water rides, but I said this was Magic Mountain's biggest loss. Such a great flume, and has an extra mojo as a park original, making use of the mountain to shape its identity. After 40 years, this closed down at the end of the 2011 season. The lake was drained, and full throttle took its place in 2013.
Thank you, Lord Hammer.
Number 4. Sarajevo Bobsleds, opened in 1984, closed in 1985. The first ride-rotation coaster, this intimate bobsled opened in time for the 1984 Sarajevo Winter Olympics. Riders sitting in a single-file line in a sled, riding in a truck where the frame isn't attached. This was here for 2 years, packed up and moved to Six Flags Over Texas, where it remained until 2024. That's where I got to ride as Lava Bora, and I thought it was a lot of fun, and Sarajevo Bobsled was replaced by Shockwave. Number 3. Superman Escape from Krypton, opened in 1997, closed in 2024. Billed as the first coaster to ever hit 100 miles an hour, this intimate reverse freefall coaster was originally called Superman the Escape, and that was full of problems early on, being delayed a full year, Intamin having a hard time getting up to 100 miles an hour, using LSM technology for the first time on any coaster. And now, that has become the dominant launch method for just about every manufacturer. Once it opened in 1997, it would reach 100 miles an hour, rise up over 400 feet, and it was a very simple ride, but also quite a rush. The ride being overhauled in 2011 to paint the tower and flip the trains backwards, getting its new name, and shortly before it closed, it was running one side forward and one side backward. This got cut off in the Six Flags Purge of 2024, rumors of its demise going around in recent years, and the chain must have deemed it too problematic to carry on. Number 2. Deja Vu, opened in 2001, closed in 2011. One of 3 prototypes Six Flags bought in 2001, this Vekoma giant inverted boomerang took a familiar model and turned it on its head. This boomerang hanging under the track, going up a 177-foot vertical spike into 3 huge inversions, and doing it all backwards. I love Deja Vu. It was my first ever opening day rope drop event back in 2001, getting a ride on the second public train, and it had 11 seasons in the back of the park next to Cyclone and Apocalypse. Then it was packed up and moved across the country to Six Flags New England in 2012, operated 8 more seasons before being scrapped. Number 1. Colossus, opened in 1978, closed in 2014. One of the great coasters in the world when it opened. This dual-track wooden coaster was massive,